Boy, have I got a story to tell you guys. This is a story of what happens when a gun jumps from a repair to a major project. This 7 Mauser Stalking rifle that you're looking at right here is one of those events. This is a rabbit hole evolution, and I'm going to take you down a story of why it took me a long time to finish this particular gun and get it up to the point where we can run some rounds through it. This story begins with a simple repair. The stock had warped, it had pulled over, and it had blown the nose out. And I got to tell you what, I honestly thought it was going to be a Ring 2 job. Ring 1s are ones you come in, you deal with them, they're gone. 2s are you come in, you do a little bit of work, maybe order a part. 3s are actual, they're kind of like, guns that require you to skin off finish, cut checkering, re-blue something, major whatevers. And 4s are just, well, here's a 4 right here. You want a Ring 4? I'll show you a Ring 4. This bore chart right here. Yeah, this is one of those jobs that's going to take more than 5 minutes to do. And that 7 Mauser was supposed to be one of those, and it turned into something much bigger. Let's go take a look. When this particular Mauser came into the shop, this piece of the stock had gone that way, a long way, and it blew this entire nose out. You can see this black line. Now, when this stock gets stained, that black line's going to disappear, but the stock went that way so hard that it cracked the nose of this stock. The rear end of the stock went that way also, so the gun has a bow in it like a banana, like this. I initially jigged this gun on a piece of, just on a maple board, and I figured, okay, we'll get it wet with a couple of rags, we'll set it in an extremely hot place, we'll bend it back a little bit, we'll re-glue the nose, and everything's going to be fine. The gun took off again, where the fore end bent over to the left, and it blew the glue joint again. Okay. Now this particular project has jumped the project ring, and it's now become a full-fledged project. Well, to keep cash flow up in the shop, you can't just stop and work on one of these problems to the exclusion of everything. You got to kind of attack it in phases. I figured, okay, so I left it jigged and sent it down to my buddy at a local shipyard, and they steamed it. And that had absolutely no effect. I'm like, all right, we're going to steam it for real. And we took this piece of angle iron, strapped this thing down, and this rubber hose will exert 3,000 to 5,000 pounds of pressure on something. We had it supported back at the wrist, and we pulled on this thing hard and set this entire rig down inside of Thor. Thor's my steaming boiling pot, and we steamed this gun twice. We steamed it once and then let it set overnight and steamed it again. At this point, don't be alarmed that I had the metal in the steam box, because the metal was caked in wax. So nothing happened. I mean, we caked it. Got it all done, let it set for another 3 days, and when we unstrapped it, in 10 minutes, the stock had taken off to the left again, and I got it out of the stock before it blew up that glue joint up at the nose. Okay, so flash forward now, we set it aside for a little while I figured out what I wanted to do next. The stock, I figured we got nothing to lose here. We already have the finish pulled off of it because it's been in a steam box for a while, and I still haven't really damaged anything yet. And I came to the conclusion that I was going to make this cut down the center. As you can see in these pictures, I've pried this thing open prior to us putting the glue in the joint. But the idea was that I wanted to bend the stock like that and trap the repair with the glue. And basically we made a 2-part laminate out of it. Once the stock gets stained down, that joint's going to disappear. I've left it naked so that you can actually see the glue line I'm talking about. We did that. We rejigged it. We pulled it all the way over, and we let the acryglass set for 2 days. And I pulled this thing out of the action, knocked the acrylic glass off of it, and before I could get the stock cleaned up, it had gone this far over. Now it's gone that far in 2 days, and if it's stable, we're going to hold what we got. I think we're going to be there. I'm going to relieve the inside here just a little bit. There's enough wood left, I can give it a little bit of air, but this thing wants to bend that way. I just thought you needed to see that as a video. We're at a point now, if this bend holds, I think we're going to be okay. We're going to get this all scrapered back down, sanded out, and stained back down to its original dark color. And that might be the end of this. But this took, for those of you that don't understand this took 2 years to do, because we just didn't want to go very fast. This is a really old gun that was made before World War I, and it really needed that gun. This gun can't weigh 3 pounds dripping wet. Well, a week went by and it didn't move much, so we sanded it all out, applied an oil finish to it. This is Danish oil, works really well. We put a little tint of red in it to get the stock color down dark so that all these repairs would just look like grain. So here you got Eric swathing on some oil. Good looking stuff. When we wipe it all out, it won't be this shiny, trust me. The first thing to do was to determine a relatively conservative checkering pattern. I looked at other stalking rifles from the turn of the century and came up with a pattern that looked right, that wasn't a complete fill-in up front, because this stock had been sanded so much, it wasn't bilaterally symmetrical anymore. So the distance from the center line up to one wall of the stock is not, of the barrel channel, isn't the same distance up to the other side. So you got to be very, very careful. You can't do a point pattern on both ends because it won't line up and it'll look goofy if you try to make it. So I just used tape. I laid down the master lines here with the tape. You can see it formed like a V, and then used a white China marker to come around the corner and make that round part. Then we cut the master lines up on the fore end here, cut across, and those are the 2 lines from which everything else radiates out from. Then you just start checkering on the fore end, and you just run all the lines across one way, run them around the other way, and then point them up. I guess I'm going to do another checkering video here pretty soon because we've learned a lot about how to shoot video. Here we go, the fore end's done. I did border this pattern because I was just, this is going to be a field gun, and to be honest, I'll show you a little bit later here. The wood on this gun is like a piece of balsa wood. It's really hard, really soft, really hard, really soft, and it fuzzed up a lot. So I bordered it because I was unable to keep it a true borderless pattern. So we do the same thing. We go back and we roughly lay out the wrist, what kind of pattern I want. And you'll also notice on the wrist here, the one master line that's running from the left to the right is the master line and is the upper part of the mouth. The bottom part is not 3-to-1, it's 2-to-1. And a lot of the original stalking rifles that I look like had the checkering laid out like that. So the bottom part of that bird's mouth on the left side of this picture is actually a fill-in. The lines aren't going to run into it. So then we start running the spacing lines here. And now we're running the second pass. Do all of your lines in one direction first. I find that looks better. And just, run them. And then as you're chasing, don't immediately start trying to point stuff up. It'll be impossible for you to keep all the lines at the same depth. Oh, here we go. There's the fuzz. The fuzz, you can actually see the grain running across and how fuzzy it is. It's just, it's a beautiful gun, but this piece of wood wasn't the highest quality chunk of wood. I hate to say that. I'm not talking trash about the gun. It is what it is. So we've got it all here. It's all done. We haven't oiled down the pattern yet. We're taking a look at making sure, checking spacing, making sure all the lines are right. So while that's being oiled, you can see the screws here. I polished down the screws on this, and you can see that one butt plate screw is really kind of gnarled up. And if you get a good look at that screw, there's no way you're going to polish that out. It would look terrible. So I just Cleaned it up, oil blued them here. Just heated them up, turned them blue, dunked them in the oil, and here it is done. And I think it came out pretty good. I guess the only thing left to do is, bust a couple of rounds through it, set it back into bedding, verify they had their sights set the right way. I didn't move their sights, so I'm thinking they came back down. And that's it. It's done. Here it is in all its glory. And we're right back to where we were at the beginning.